This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstein Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 33, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington, and I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt Combs.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the Mighty Hogstein Network on audio, so you better listen there. And here on YouTube on video, and you have to listen here. So that's the only way we get paid.
That's where you get to see our beautiful faces.
Yeah, it takes a lot to make this happen.
And Rick, it's Christmas time, so I'm going to be having my Christmas backgrounds.
Yeah, where's Yukon Cornelius? I don't see him.
I think he's right there. Yeah, there he is.
All right, we watched it with the grandkids the other day.
It's one of the best Christmas movies of all time.
Yeah. This Wonderful Life thing, I know it was great, but it's so hard to watch that old grainy image on it anymore. And as I told Grant Paulson on the radio, every time I bite the head off a gingerbread man, an angel gets its wings. So, all right, back to the Washington Commanders. Here's the thing. First off, we'll go, since it's bye week, we can ponder the big things. Is it worth Chase Young coming back if he doesn't play against the Giants and at least 3 games to go? And you could say, well, you need him for the run. But Ron Rivera admitted one of the reasons why Chase isn't playing yet is the line's doing fine without him. And, he's not 100%. I don't know that he will be 100%. And so they just aren't pushing it. But to me, if you don't play him against the Giants, I think you just bagged the season. With 3 games to go, what happens if he gets hurt now? It's pointless.
Yeah. I got an argument for both sides. I will say, yes, it's you should play him if the Montez Sweat injury is concerning. Montez went out Sunday against the Giants. I don't recall that he came back because I think it was late in the game. So if the Montez Sweat injury is more serious and there's a chance that he will not play against the Giants, then yes, I would play Chase Young. You could slide him into the Montez Sweat role. I will say no. If Montez is healthy, I say no, because you don't want to break up the continuity with that line. Not only is Allen and Payne playing at Pro Bowl levels, I mean, Payne's up to 8.5 sacks. I think that's a career high for him. But you've got guys like Abada and Hill and Ridgeway, and these guys are playing at Pro Bowl levels, and they're supposed to be third teamers. You know what I mean? Ridgeway wasn't even on this team. Hill was a cast off from the Eagles. I mean, this is these guys that they have as depth and as rotational players are playing at a high level. You don't want to break up that continuity between these guys because they're at the point in the season where they don't even have to communicate. These guys just know what each other is going to do instinctively.
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of losing the ability to care. But here's the problem. Let's say he doesn't play this season. Then he comes back next year for his 4th season on his deal. All right, now they can keep for the 5th year, doing the options, but that starts to get expensive. And you don't know what you have anymore. Right. Not really. Because Rivera even said today, listen, we talked to the doctors, and they said there's no way to really simulate game contact kind of stuff. So you don't really know until he's out there what you have. Mm-hmm. Well, this is an awfully expensive guess. If you don't see him this year, then next year you're going to have to figure it out somewhere along the way. You're guessing. That's a big, expensive guess. So.
Well, and I can kind of counter that too, and I can say, well, you're probably going to have to pay Payne. I know Rivera has come out and said that that's a priority, but they're not in the business of franchising. So, that's going to be a big need this offseason. Montez Sweat's deal is up pretty soon. So you would like to keep him. You would think he would probably be a little bit cheaper than Chase. And realistically, say you have Chase for the 4th year of his deal, you pick up his 5th year option, and he doesn't really blow you away. Yes, he's the 2nd overall pick, and you would hate to lose that, but you could just let him go. You could let him walk. You could try and trade him and get something for him, or, it turns out that he's a decent player for this team, and you don't really have to break the bank for him, even though he wants it. There's kind of many options with Chase, but and I agree with you. I wouldn't play him this last 3 games if there's any risk of injury, because like you said, what's he gonna, if he gets injured at the end of the season again this year, that may be another year of rehab. That might be another year, or he's got to go under the knife and it's going to keep him out for another season. I would come back fresh at the start of training camp next year with Chase Young. Hopefully you still have Payne, you have Allen, you have Sweat. Let the 4 of them gain the rapport back that they've lost since Chase has been out, and see what you can do. See if you can wreak havoc like you have this year.
All right, so let me throw one more scenario into it. Suppose that maybe you want him to play so you can trade him for picks next offseason and tell everybody, listen, he's healthy once more, but we're full of people, so I'm willing to trade him for picks. Unless you play him now, no one's going to make that deal because you have no idea what you're getting. So, I mean, like you say, there are a lot of scenarios that go along with the Chase Young deal.
Well, what kind of picks are we talking about, too? Because, like we talked about the last show, hey, picks for this team have worked out recently, and it's a lot of these late round picks. So, I mean, what are we talking? A 3rd and a 5th, a 2nd and a 6th? What are we talking? I mean, I'm listening.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Mike Tomlin always said he really wished he'd had Chase in Pittsburgh. Okay, I'll send him to you. They already sent you William Jackson. I guess we owe you something for that.
Yeah, you took that $10 million off our hands.
Yeah, and Jackson didn't pass the physical, so there's no compensation due on that deal. He's went to IR, so they basically we unloaded some salary cap money on him and a problem, but they didn't get anything. We didn't get anything out of it. So that's a really weird one. All right,
how big is the loss of St. Juice been? It's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because Holmes is not that good.
Right. So, and we've seen the Wild Goose. We've seen Holmes. Percy Butler made a dumb mistake last game. I mean, St. Juice, I mean, that kid is really coming to his own, man. I mean, that's a big kid to have out there, too. And if he can put it all together, that's a steal.
Well, they call it a middle ankle sprain, which I have not heard before. I've heard of high ankle sprains that are usually 4 to 6 weeks. I've heard low, regular ankle sprain, which could be how much pain can you tolerate?
Right. Can we tape it and give you some ibuprofen?
But a middle one, I don't know. But he's been out now, 3 games? So, you're reaching the high ankle sprain part. So I don't know. That's something. I just, when I heard that one, I laughed. I thought, man, you just make up a new term for this one. So, yeah, they definitely have missed him. You're seeing that.
Yep.
All right, so it's going to Dotson. I look smart for once. I did a video on Rick Snyder's Washington Sunday morning saying they got to get the ball at Dotson. I mean, I know you have these other things going on, but this kid's just out there lost in space. You got to go find him. And they found him. I think he had 2 or 3 catches, but the one was tied the game at the end. That showed what he does.
Yeah.
So, Samuel, they've been running Curtis Samuel. He's actually had more carries than he's had receptions in the last 6 weeks. And they may keep doing that. So Dotson gets to move up in the pecking order a little. I just think, you got your first rounder there. He's not a bust. He's starting to round back into shape. He had that hamstring problem, which kept him out for a while. But he seems to be doing okay now for that. So I expect him to have a much better, a fast finish for them.
Yeah, we have a good trio of wide receivers. And like you talked about, Curtis is kind of filling the Deebo Samuel role out in San Francisco. He's maybe not as good of an athlete as Deebo, but they're using him similarly. And it works. I mean, he's fast. He can find the hole. I mean, he makes good runs when he gets them, and he's a good change of pace. I mean, we know Gibby's kind of hampered with a little bit of a nagging injury, so maybe he's not got the speed off the edge that we need, and it's a good change to throw him in there, when Brian Robinson needs a break. Yeah, I mean, if Terry's 1, Dotson's 2, and Curtis is in the backfield with either Robinson or Gibson, that's pretty good. But I tell you, the lacking spot aside from tight end, O-line on this team that I'm actually surprised about is tight end. I mean, we've seen Logan Thomas the past couple weeks coming back. He's clearly not 100%. Bates is your blocking back, although he does have some hands with that nice TD against the Falcons. And then, realistically, I want to see more of Amari Rodgers. I don't understand why they don't give him more of a chance. Rodgers, when he's gotten the chance, he's good. You said he's hurt?
Yeah, he's hurt.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that one. But, Rodgers is probably someone that you want to look at in the offseason as maybe taking a big step up.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. One other thing. Oh, Sunday, I was just looking at the paper, and I don't pay a lot of attention to the NHL, but I noticed the Caps were under 500, and I was like, wait a minute, what happened here? So
Injuries.
what happened? All I hear about is Ovi scoring goals, but is that all I got now? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the wife and I were talking about this the other day. The Caps have been riddled with injuries. Wilson got hurt last year and he's still out. Oshie spent a lot of time hurt. He's just back. It's not guaranteed that Carl Hagelin will ever play again. And they spent a lot of money on a goaltender this year, it was an emphasis that they needed. And they haven't really had the help on the defensive end because they're going with a lot of young kids. I mean, Rick, you look at this lineup, you wouldn't even recognize these guys. But I think at this point, it's more, I hate to say it, but it's more about Ovi getting that record than it is winning games or winning in the playoffs. I mean, honestly, look, another championship for the Caps would seal the deal for the Ovechkin era. But I really think that Ted and company are focused on getting him that record. I mean, it's a record that will stand the test of time. I don't think we've seen another pure goal scorer like him. And I don't know if we ever will. We've been promised the McDavids and the Austin Matthews and then, this guy and that guy. Oh, number one, he's the next generational talent. Well, nobody will touch Ovechkin.
See, it's a sole part of this monumental sports empire. And that usually means to me, need that cash to go buy the Nationals.
That's what I think too.
So I don't know how much that guy got out of the empire or for how much. No, that's a private company. Doesn't have to say. But I thought that was interesting. That kind of tells me it's pretty much going Nationals.
What's your speaking of baseball real quick, what's your reaction to Trey Turner to the Phillies?
Sucks. But I mean, you got $300 million. I'll give him that. I don't blame people for getting paid, but I was like, oh man, he's going to be in the Phillies.
Yeah, they're turning it's the Philadelphia Nationals North.
Yeah.
But and I said this, and I understand that the position that the Nationals are in. Look, the Lerners don't want to spend a lot of money because they're getting ready to sell the team. I did not know this, but generally, like if you look at Philly, their deal with Philadelphia, NBC Sports Philadelphia is like worth $120 million. The Nats are only getting $60 million from the Masson deal. It just goes to show you how crappy that deal is and how much the Orioles are hindering the Nationals' chances of fielding a competitive team like they did in 2018. We signed a couple guys, but it's if this guy works out here and if this guy can round back into form. And, you got that $35 million Strasburg tag just hanging over you. You got Corbin making a ton of money. You can't make the moves because there is no money.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, since it's bye weekend, I can tell people something to do. I heard about this tree in Northwest DC on Van Ness Avenue and International Drive. That is, if it was human, would be the grandson of the tree that Sir Isaac Newton sat under when the apple hit him in the head and all that. And I was like, what? And that happened about 350 years ago. That tree is actually alive. But they cloned that tree, brought it to DC, and it finally died. And they cloned that tree to what you see now. Has all these embassies around it. But I just thought that was so weird that the tree from Sir Isaac Newton's here in D.C. So there you go.
Did you sit under it and get a little bit of knowledge?
It had a fence around the park for some reason. They're doing renovations, but I just put my cell phone above it and did a quick Rick Snyder's Washington, so you can see it on the website on there. It's just kind of cool.
That's cool.
All right, we got to go do something on bye weekend. So we got to get out of here. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
See you soon. Well, see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.